Day. Our last storyteller will speak to us about how much time and persistence it sometimes takes to find a love that lasts. Mia Roop, who, now I got to introduce you now, who has like the coolest name next to Ache, right? She was raised between, it says, a tennis bra and a ballerina, so her home was really cramped. She works for high-tech sales at Lotus and other places and is married to a very spirited guy and has two wonderful children. Now, I know a lot of people think their children are wonderful, but hers really are. I know that. They're really cool people, and they're here to support their mom tonight. So if you will put your hands together, please, for Mia Roop.
So I graduated from Lexington High School in 1980, and I was really excited. And I was on my way to Colby College in Waterville, Maine, and I arrived in the fall at Colby. And I was really into ballet and dance at the time, so I signed up for a bunch of classes, and I was taking ballet. And in January of my freshman year, I started taking a class that was every day. It was ballet every day. And it was a very popular class. There were probably 20 or 30 girls in the class. And one day when I was there, ready to take the class, in walks 5 large football players. And they were in gray sweat pants and gray sweatshirt, and they were there to take the class. And I spotted one of those guys, and I fell instantly in love with him. And I proceeded to tell everyone that I knew that I was in love with this guy. I mean, I told every friend of mine, I told every one of his friends, I told all the guys in my dorm that were trying to get into his fraternity, I told everyone. And then one day I was walking along a path at Colby, and it was just me, and there he was, just him walking towards me. And it would have been the perfect time to say something, but I just passed him, and I couldn't summon up the courage to say anything to him. And then one day, I was with this group of girls, and we were all eating. We were in the cafeteria, and we were all there. It was not a very popular time to go eat, so we were there by ourselves at this one table, and it was a big cafeteria, and we were just eating carrots and celery because we had all gained a lot of weight. And there in the distance, walking into the cafeteria, is this guy. And he is by himself, and I couldn't go anywhere without a group of people, so I was pretty impressed with that. And then he went and got a tray of food, and I kid you not, he filled it to the brim with food. I mean, it was like packed with food. And he placed himself way over in the distance. There was nobody else between us, and I could see him. And it would have been the perfect time to go and say, introduce myself, but I couldn't summon the courage to do that. And then I found out that there was this party that his fraternity was giving, and I told everyone, every friend of mine, every friend of his, everyone that was in his fraternity, that I wasn't going unless he asked me to that party. But he never asked. So the end of the school year came, and I went home to Lexington, and I was there all summer. And then the next fall, I was really excited to go back to Colby to see this guy. And I continued to tell everybody I was in love with him. And then I walked into my first philosophy class. It was moral philosophy. And there he was, sitting in the back row. There were only 5 rows, and there was only some seats in the front row, so I sat down in the front row right in front of him. And every so often, I would look back and stare at him with these loving eyes. I was just, willing him to ask me out. So during that class, this professor was the most amazing professor, and he said, we are going to read 10 of the most amazing books. I mean, think of the best philosophers in the entire universe. We were reading 10 of these books by 10 philosophers, and we were going to have to write 10 papers. So the next class, I walk in, and he's not there anymore. He withdrew from the class. So very quickly, I learned that he was a second semester senior, and he was going to be graduating in January, and it was October. So I didn't have a lot of time. I only had a few months. So I was going to all of the football games, all of the home games, and my roommate and I, we decided that we were going to go to all the away games, and she had a car, so we'd drive to the away games, and I would position myself right there as the team was running onto the field. You can see they would be running onto the field, and I would be staring at him as he came across. And then at the end of the game, I would be there again, right as they were running off the field, and I would be staring at him, willing him to ask me out. Well, the first weekend in November, they were playing Tufts University, and it was 3 hours away, and we were not going to drive 3 hours to get there. But I knew that most of the guys on the football team were from Massachusetts, and most of them would be staying in Massachusetts for the weekend. But I knew that that guy was going to come back on the bus, and he was going to be there that night. So I asked some friends of mine, some guys in the fraternity, if they would bring me to the fraternity that night. And they said yes, and we walked down. It was kind of dark, and we walked down, and there was this big fraternity house made of brick, and I walked in the door, and it was pretty dark. There weren't a lot of lights on, and there was this one room in the back, and it was the dining room, and there was a bunch of guys in there, and they were playing a drinking game, and I walked in, and there he was. And very shortly after I came, they ended the game, and somehow everybody left except him and me. And we somehow found ourselves facing each other in a door frame. Not a very small door frame, kind of a medium-sized door frame, and we were facing each other. And the first thing that I ever said to him was, "I don't even know you, but I'm in love with you, and you're gonna marry me someday." So he said, "Do you want to take a walk?" And I said, "Take me away." And we dated for 5 years, and then he did, in fact, ask me to marry him. And we have been together. In November, it'll be 39 years that we have been together. So this is not the end, because I do want to have a moral to this story. And I was thinking about how to leave this story. And a few years ago, I was at a conference, and I was in a hotel room, and I was standing waiting for the elevator. And there on the elevator buttons, I don't know if you can see it, was a handwritten note that said, "I'm so in love with the man in room 1652. And I realized that that person was in the same situation as me. That person had only a short amount of time and had to profess their love very quickly. So in honor of Valentine's Day, I hope that you all make sure to profess your love to all of your loved ones. Thank you.